Terrorism respite as Marlinists prepare for new homes. As independent colonies are set up for Marlinist refugees, there has been a lull in terrorist strikes from the Neo-Marlinist Liberation Army. In recent months, the paramilitary group launched multiple attacks across the empire. Starports and administrative buildings were bombed and dozens of individuals assassinated, including Prince Harold and more distant members of the Duval family. However, the number of incidents has fallen drastically following successful operations by the Imperial Internal Security Service. After the Federal Security Service identified NMLA members aboard the emigrants' megaships, these were transferred to us for interrogation. We obtained information that enabled us to shut down many terrorist cells, although there is evidence that the NMLA's network remains widespread. In related news, hundreds of thousands of Marlinist refugees are preparing to occupy new colony systems established by the Sirius Corporation. Mass transportation will take place early next year, overseen by Safeguard Interstellar. The Empire, Federation and Sirius Gov have all agreed that the settlements will remain fully independent. The refugee population has already begun to determine its future social structure, based on the principles of Marlinism. A transitional parliament has been formed by community leaders such as Dr. Jenna Fairfax, Aaron White and Amrita Ross. Democratic elections for a representative government will take place once the Marlinist colonies are operational. Investors take control of Lakon Spaceways. A coalition of Lakon Spaceways shareholders has voted to replace several members of the company's board of directors with new management. At an emergency general meeting, investors put forward a resolution to remove selected directors, in accordance with Lakon's Articles of Association. The majority vote was in favor of this resolution. New appointees to the board have already stated that the rejected bid by federal shipbuilder Core Dynamics will be reappraised. Jupiter Rochester, the corporation's CEO, has welcomed the opportunity for fresh discussions. Chairperson Naomi Landseer, who is one of the directors being replaced, told Vox Galactica, "It's no coincidence that the board members being voted out are the same ones who are against Core Dynamics owning the company. I am convinced that Rochester's people are bribing or threatening our shareholders to make sure this hostile takeover goes through." Lakon Spaceways is currently offering a 30% discount on sales of ASP Scout S, Diamondback Scout S, Keelback S, Type 7 transporters and Type 10 defenders. Core Dynamics has applied a 30% markdown to sales of the Eagle Mark II and the Vulture, with a 20% discount for Federal assault ships, Federal dropships and Federal gunships. Alliance shelters new Marlinist refugees. Tens of thousands of Marlinist refugees have claimed sanctuary in Alliance space, after emigrating from the Empire to avoid political persecution. In recent weeks, there has been a steady stream of ex-Imperial citizens arriving at Alliance systems, mostly traveling aboard small private vessels or in the holds of cargo ships. The humanitarian aid organization Safeguard Interstellar reported that accommodation and basic necessities are being provided. Alliance Interpol is running stringent security checks for evidence that members of the NMLA terrorist group are present. The initial wave of refugees, which fled to the Federation, are currently preparing to populate a number of independent colonies established by the Sirius Corporation. However, these systems cannot yet provide harbor to the continuing exodus of Marlinists from the Empire. Prime Minister Edmund Mahone publicly welcomed the refugees, but there has been some dissent in the Alliance Assembly. Councillor Nakato Kane, who is expected to be Mahone's main rival in next year's election, received widespread support for her views. Naturally, we must provide these poor people with emergency aid, but there are practical limits to our resources. It is not our responsibility to solve the Empire's domestic issues, and we have seen the Federation pay the price for sheltering terrorists. The Alliance cannot end up as the dumping ground for other superpowers' problems. Terrorism respite as Marlinists prepare for new homes. As independent colonies are set up for Marlinist refugees, there has been a lull in terrorist strikes from the Neo-Marlinist Liberation Army. In recent months, the paramilitary group launched multiple attacks across the Empire. Starports and administrative buildings were bombed and dozens of individuals assassinated.